Hello everybody, my name is Roxtus,
And I'm Soulgale.
and welcome back to Warframe.
Woo!
What? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Alright, Valkyr, how to? Well,
Valkyr!
alright. So Valkyr, she goes ahead and she drops by Alad V in Thermosto on Jupiter. She is a very basic Warframe, and she's a very good one, especially early in the game. If you want to get something that's actually a little bit more potent than Frost, just for early game. We're talking early game, not very far end game. Frost is a little bit better end game, but for early game, Valkyr takes the cake because she's a kitty.
Yes, actually, I did Anaros' quest with Valkyr.
Yes, if you're doing Anaros' quest, she actually does it even better than Frost, and that's actually saying something. She's pretty good for early game. If you want to get a hold of her, she's pretty easy to get a hold of. And she does very good early game, especially doing it solo.
Yeah.
Well, shall we get into the abilities?
Yes.
Alright. Alrighty. So, we got the passive. Passive, recover 50% faster from being knocked down. This is pretty much the same thing as handspring. This is super nice being early in the game, because then if you get knocked down from a burst or anything like that, and you don't have prime sure-footed or anything like that, this is nice and early for you new gamers, where you're like, hey, I need to stop getting knocked down, and this is wonderful because you get back on your feet faster.
Oh, yeah.
Another thing to note, which is actually not put in this description, is that she is absolutely immune to hard landings. She does not need to recover from having a heavy fall or anything like that. She just gets right back up, just like Link after you roll.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Ripline, the very first ability. Valkyr hurls forth a hook. If it hits an enemy, she pulls them to her. If it hits terrain, she pulls herself to the hook's location. So this is pretty useful for traversing a terrain, anything like that. Drain is 25, range is 75 meters for the hook's range. Damage is 600 damage. Combo window is 1 second for you to combo to the next target if you're hitting one target going to the next target. Pretty useful-ish. If you're outdoors though, Ripline, obviously there's nothing to Ripline onto. You can't do Spider-Man anymore. So that is what it is. It's pretty fun though, especially if you're indoors and you've got good ceiling and you can be able to just kind of Spider-Man around.
Yeah.
Pretty fun. Warcry. Valkyr lets out a rallying cry that bolsters her attack speeds while slowing down nearby enemies. Drain is 75, radius is 25 meters around you. Duration is 15 seconds. You get an armor increase, as we've said in Trinity. You get an armor increase, which is pretty good, 50%. Speed increase of 50%, and speed decrease, this is what slows people around you, by 30%. This is pretty good, especially because of the speed. She's very quick. She's very, very deadly, especially early in the game.
Yeah.
Paralysis. Valkyr unleashes her shields, stunning and damaging enemies around her. Drain is 5. It's very efficient. Range is 10 meters, so that's pretty much the same size as Frost's Snow Globe. It's a pretty good range. Damage multiplier is 3.5 times. This is multiplicative with your shields that get drained. So if you have more shields, this means that you have more damage that comes off of your shields. Knockback strength is 1,000. When it means knockback, it just means I will push you away with the force, and it'll push them right over the edge.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. Drain is 33% of your shields. So what it does is it takes 33% of your shields, which if you have 150, it'll take 50 of those shields. It'll multiply it by the damage multiplier stated there, which is 3.5 times those shields. So you get 150, add 22.5, so that's 152.5 damage that gets multiplied back through. It's probably a little bit more, I'm just averaging there, but that gets multiplied back through, and it just gets dealt around you. It's not the best ability. I mean, if you can shove people off the map and it kills them, yeah, but most maps don't just have endless pits that people can fall down
No.
off of, so it's not all that useful all of much of the time. Hysteria. Valkyr is imbued with energy and becomes a ball of ferocious rage, capable of unleashing a torrent of deadly claws attacks on unsuspecting foes. Drain is 25 energy, damage is 250 slash impact or puncture. Now this is basically her base damage on her talons, which is her exalted weapon. So it's just upping her damage with power strength. Radius is 5 to 20 meters. This is an aura range. When you cast Hysteria, you are actually invulnerable. You actually do not take any damage. But this aura range, if you do take damage, it stacks. So you're invulnerable, but the damage will stack, and it will hold, I believe, either a percentage or a full amount of that damage over time. And then when you release this ability or you run out of energy, if there is an enemy within that aura, just one enemy, it only takes one enemy, and you decast, all that damage that's been stored will be dealt back to you directly. So this is kind of interesting. If you don't have any enemies, you don't have anything to worry about because it won't deal any damage. But if there are enemies around you, it will deal damage back to you. So she has a lifesteal of 5% and an energy drained per second while the ability is being channeled of 2.5 to 15 energy. This energy channel increases per second. So every often it'll increase the actual energy getting drained. So this is a pretty good ability. This does really good damage, especially early. She is a cat. She is very ferocious. And like being a cat, it is very useful, especially early in the game.
And they always land on their feet.
And they always land on their feet. So this is our Valkyr build. It's a very basic build, very simplistic. It's pretty easy to get along with. Arcane Energize for energy, Arcane Guardian for, of course, armor. We actually have Prime Sure-Footed. This is pretty funny because, you know, if I was earlier in the game, I would definitely use Handspring. But since we're at the stage of the game that we are now, we will use Prime Sure-Footed because I just don't like getting knocked down. What can I say?
I don't either.
Steel Charge increases 60% melee damage. This does pretty well, especially with Hysteria as her ult. It just adds more melee damage, and the game is pretty much melee damage. Well, somewhat. Some people can find ranged weapons to be pretty fun, especially Mesa when you're blowing things up.
Yeah.
Fleeting Expertise and Streamline for maximum efficiency. We want to be able to make sure that we're not just getting drained of all our energy, and then there's an enemy around which takes out quite a bit of our health. So we want to make sure that we're super efficient. Negative 50% ability duration, which gets counterbalanced by narrow-minded. We don't really care about too much about range because at 25.5 meters in a tile, that's basically 50% of the tile's actual length of the tile. So we don't really need to worry about range all that much. Same thing with Warcry. If we're going solo, we don't need a whole bunch of range. And same thing for Valkyr's Hysteria. Nothing really here is actually affected by range. In fact, the radius of the aura, that if an enemy's residual in and you pop that aura and you get hit, it's not affected by range. So again, range, not too much of an issue. We can go negative range and not have too much kind of coming back at us. We are going to be looking at maximizing damage. As you've seen, there is no actual real strippage here or anything that can take out armor or any shields or anything really specific we're looking at. So we're mainly looking at damage and of course attack speed increases. So we're going to be using Transient Fortitude for a little bit more ability strength. And then if you've been looking at her armor, this is a very nice bit of armor to have, especially earlier in the game. You will pretty much never die. She has quite a bit of good armor on her. If you think Grineer are tanky, you should take a look at Valkyr for a little bit until you get to level 70, and then the Grineer might have a little bit more armor than this. But she's pretty tanky, especially for early in the game. We will be using Umbral Fiber, Umbral Vitality, and Umbral Intensify as each of these stack with each other, going from 100 to 130 to 180 with Umbral Fiber and Vitality here. And then for ability strength, we're going to be adding 44, 55, and 77% at full maxed strength. It'll add 77% with all 3 abilities all equipped at the same time. This is a very good trio, especially for Valkyr, because we have quite a bit of health. We have quite a bit of armor, and she has quite a bit of armor on the base. And we're adding Unbold Intensify for more power strength, which increases her damage and her attack speed bonuses. As well, we are going Primed Flow for more maximum battery, so we never really exit our Hysteria.
Which is nice.
Are we ready to show off to Kitty?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot. She has an exalted weapon.
She has talons.
So we will show that. But for the build, I don't really have any Archon shards. If I did, I could go for red shards and add some more melee critical damage. And that should actually be pretty good on her. Either that, or you could add on power strength. I don't know if there's any difference. She's more for earlier in the game, so I really didn't put any Archon shards on her. So I don't know if critical damage would be better for her or power strength. She's just more so for earlier game, and I really wouldn't use Archon shards on her. She's really nice and good for the early game, especially with you, with Inaros.
Yeah.
That was super useful. I had trouble with Inaros, and I barely beat him with Frost. And then she comes in with Valkyr and takes him out in one fell swoop of her claws. And I'm just like, seriously? I took good time and dedicated effort to kill him with Frost, and you just bat him over the head with your claw. You're like,
I think you
bat in arms.
suggested Valkyr.
Yeah,
You suggested Valkyr
she's very good, yes.
for me to use her. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll try her out.
Yeah. Alrighty, we're going to take a look at the talents here. This is actually full maxed out. This is a very good build for her talents. We have Hysteria, which is just her stance. It comes with every exalted weapon. I believe even Excalibur has his own stance that he uses with his weapon, so you can't really change that up, I don't believe.
No, also Wukong has his own stance too.
Yeah, and it does what it does. It's really nice because she has really quick attacks. This weapon has really quick attacks on the base. It's at 1.5 attack speed. This is higher than even the Thibodeau at 1.33 attacks per second. So this is super kitty fast. Like as fast as a cat can attack something, this is as fast as she can attack as well. So we're going to go ahead and use Primed Fury for add 55% attack speed. You can use the other attack speed mod, which is Berserker's Fury. Nope, they changed the name of that. It is Berserker's Fury.
It is Berserkers.
So you can use Berserker's Fury. It adds 35% attack speed for 10 seconds, stacks up to two times. But I find this relatively inconsistent because you have to get kills, and then the distance from one target to the next could be higher than 10 seconds, so you'll be losing those stacks over time. And this to me just kind of is an annoyance because you just lose your stacks and it's very inconsistent. So I will be using Primed Fury because I just like Primed Fury. We will be using Primed Fever Strike as for toxin damage. Toxin damage completely bypasses any Corpus shields, rendering their shields completely useless. This is very nice, and especially as this is the only primed elemental mod, this does really, really good. It's basically the same equivalent as adding on primed pressure point. Now I can even show that here. If I add on this, my max damage is 2,459.2. And then if I replace that with primed pressure point, ooh, toxin damage apparently actually does more. So that's interesting. But on a base, this mod in and of itself will get multiplied as soon as primed pressure point gets put down. So this will go down, it'll add base toxic damage. And then when you add primed pressure point on, the toxic damage will also get multiplied by primed pressure point, adding quite a big sum total. It's basically adding quite a bit of damage on the base and then adding quite a bit of multiplier on top of that. So if you think about it, It's basically like saying, okay, I have 962 damage. I'm going to add on top of that damage another 165%. That'll multiply by base damage. And then those two bases, base damage here, impact, puncture, and slash, plus toxin, which got added on, which is actually over all three bases right now. All three base damages are at 309. If we add all those together, that's 900 damage. Toxin right now is at 1,500 damage. So it's even higher than all the other damages in this system right now. Then when we add primed pressure point, it multiplies all that damage by 1.65. So impact is 100% and 65% more damage. Each of these is quite a bit more damage, and even the toxin is quite a bit more damage. It's doubling the toxin damage. So yes, primed fever strike, very good, especially for early. Gives it quite a bit of damage and is a very useful one. Conditioned overload. Now, even though she doesn't have a lot of status chance on this weapon, it's only 10%. You really do still want to be using conditioned overload because there's just nothing else here that actually does really well, especially if you go to level 60s and beyond. You'll start to notice that the enemies will start to get a little bit more tanky, and you want to be able to take out those units. You want to be using conditioned overload versus even primed pressure point, because at the end of the day, you have 4 statuses here, actually 5 statuses, which is impact, puncture, slash, toxin, and radiation. So you have 5 statuses being multiplied by condition overload, which adds 80% melee damage per status type affecting the target. So you have 5 of those. That's 400% added damage. Primed pressure point, it's the same multiplier as condition overload. It just multiplies all the damage across the board. So 400% is 235% higher than primed pressure point. It's adding 235% more damage than you would get from primed pressure point. So this is super useful, and all you need is 2 procs of either one of these status effects, whether it be radiation and toxin, or toxin and slash, or slash and impact, and you'll be able to be 5% below primed pressure point, and then as soon as you hit your next status, you'll be above that. So conditioned overload all the way. Organ shatter for more critical damage. This is really useful. Even if a weapon has 2 critical damage multiplier, organ shatter will easily add 180% damage multiplied after all the modifications of those mods there. Super useful. Critical chance, not as useful as organ shatter, but we will be adding on sacrificial steel to buff the organ shatter, just making sure that we get orange crits. Anything at 100% or below is going to be a yellow crit. Anything at 200% or below is going to be an orange crit. We're at right now 187.5, so we will be getting 87% of the time orange crits, which is really, really good. And then anything at 300% or below, we will be getting red crits. For this build, we will be only getting orange crits for this type of build because we actually have quite a bit of critical chance on the base. Another thing that we cannot actually do with this build, we cannot actually go Berserker's Blood Rush. I'm looking for the wrong word.
Yeah.
Blood Rush. We can't go Blood Rush, and we can't go Weeping Wounds. If we could, this would be much, much better than it is, but this is what it is. We can't really use because any exalted weapon can't really use both of those. I don't know why, but it's just banned from the exalted weapon table. So that is what it is. Instead, we will be needing to get our status chance up for condition overload. We will be going full radiation. Radiation is pretty good, even in and of itself. Even when we were doing the Archon, Boreal, or any of the Archons, this is pretty useful to be able to actually kill Archons. Not particularly too useful. We use Wukong, I believe.
Yeah, we used Wukong.
We use Wukong quite a bit, but this is pretty useful on a base just to have more status chance and, of course, more damage. And I think that's about it. Sacrificial pressure, of course, instead of primed pressure point, This just buffs Sacrificial Steel by 55% for more critical chance, and as she's got quite a bit of critical chance, 50% on a base on this weapon, this does pretty good. And then Sacrificial Pressure, we will be sacrificing a little bit of melee damage, but it makes itself back up with the Sacrificial Steel. In this case, I would actually use Sacrificial Pressure, just because after all the math, adding a little bit more critical chance here actually does kind of pan out. If I don't, I will be losing 27.5% critical chance, and that chance actually goes towards orange crits, which orange crits deal higher damage than basic yellows. So at this point, yes, you do want to be, in this case, using Sacrificial Steel, especially because we do not have Blood Rush. It's all because we can't use Blood Rush and Weeping Fury. So, be adding that back on. A little bit more complicated because of the Prime Talons, but we get the gesture. It's very good.
Yeah.
It's very good cat food. Well, should we try this one out?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Man.
A lone Tenno operative is raiding this ship for supplies. You are here to distract the enemy.
I should have used my rip line. Yeah.
They have just shut down all systems.
Ah.
Yep, wrong button. I keep pressing the wrong button.
So you could actually forgo the narrow-minded, and you could actually go primed continuancy for duration, and instead of negating your range, especially if you want to just play around with the rip lines, the rip line is pretty fun, especially you get a Spider-Man around rooms.
Yeah.
That is really fun. But this is what we use in power for. Gain more damage on the ultimate. If I had to put Archon Shards on, I might actually go casting speed.
Yeah.
But yes, she is very fun, especially early game.
She spins around in a ball too. Whee.
She spins around. Oh, right.
Oh, look.
She's like Sonic. Right.
Sonic!
Wow. I forgot completely about that. That is so fun. Aw. I'm a little ball of joy. I come and sit on your lap and I purr. That's all I do. Meow. Oh. She is so fun.
I like her slide dashing too.
Too bad I can't kill people by rolling. Can I kill people by rolling? I don't think I can kill them by rolling.
No.
Sonic kills people by rolling. Why can't I do it? Aw. But Mom, I want to kill people by rolling.
Well, are you like Cartman? But man,
I guess so.
I don't want to go school.
Hey, you can't actually kill by rolling. You gotta see Grendel.
Yeah.
Forgot about that. The Goron dude.
The Goron.
He's basically a Goron.
He is basically
You look at
a
any
Goron.
of his abilities, and he's basically a Goron.
Yeah.
This is fun. I completely forgot about the jumping. I love that.
It kind of looks weird with my tails on. Like,
Where'd you go?
I'm right over here. right here. Okay. Woo. Woo. Look at my tails.
Yes,
I'm Tails from Sonic.
multiple
Can
tails.
I fly with my tails?
Tails only has 2.
I know.
You're ruining his image.
Poo.
So on the top right, if you notice there is the status bar, it will actually build up once people are in the aura and they deal damage to you. So if you decast during this time where there's a damage number, you'll actually be dealt the damage. And apparently my damage absorption is so high, I don't take any damage. But it will deal the damage towards you. Either that or no one was in my aura.
No one was probably
There we
in
go.
your aura.
You saw my shields go down there. That was the damage going through. Let's see if I can't get enough damage so I can pop my shields. Oh. Alright. If I pull out my melee weapon, then I'm out of ultimate.
Yeah. What do you mean, your ranged weapon?
Yeah. So that's 230. So we're gonna pop off our shields. And that's the damage. So make sure there's no one in your aura, otherwise you could actually accidentally kill yourself by deactivating the ability. Wow.
Yeah.
The percentage on the marker as well, up there, that also indicates how much energy is actually getting drained by saying the percent. So at 80%, it's draining more and more up till 15% or 15 energy per second. Ish. Is that out of 10?
Here we go.
I'm a fast cat.
Fast cat. What?
Oh yeah.
I'm already here.
Oh,
Did you forget about her slash?
she's fast.
Yeah.
She's very fast. I completely forgot about how much I enjoy that jump,
Yeah.
the Sonic jump.
Sonic jump.
Ah, that's so much fun. Yes. Oh. Yes, Valkyr is very, very good, especially if you're just starting out. Frost is pretty good for defenses. Trinity is very good for later level survivals, but especially if you're just looking, hey, I want to run the mission, I want to get done with stuff early. Mag takes quite a bit of Forma to be able to get up and be able to get to the point where she's actually pretty useful with just clearing. You have to have quite a bit of Forma to be able to do her build. But when you're looking at Valkyr, it's a very early Warframe. It's a very basic Warframe, and it's a very good Warframe for just getting all your planets done, getting all your nodes done, just going throughout the planets. And she's very quick. After a certain while, though, if you start getting Warframes and you start getting Forma and you starting to mod things, that's where she kind of falls off. Kind of in the later game, she's just not as useful, but especially for early, she's really useful. Especially for all the armor, and she's just fast.
Yeah.
So, yes. Well, is that all the time we have for this episode?
Unfortunately, yes.
And we will see you guys in the very next video. Bye-bye!
Bye-bye.